Welcome to Bulletcast, a Bullet Catcher gaming podcast. In this episode, we will be talking about the NFTs. Today's guest will be Ghost Island Thunder, and I am your host, Marcus, also known as Grandpa 8 Up, and now your host, Andy from Bullet Catcher Gaming.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for Ghost Island Thunder for jumping on today. Obviously, we've got Sandy and Wanderer and Tonka as well. But a big thank you. Cheers, buddy, for jumping on. I'm a big fan of Ghost Island Thunder's YouTube channel. It's definitely one of the other breakpoint content creators I follow constantly. So if you have not seen Ghost Island Thunder before and you're listening to this, jump on over to his YouTube channel, check him out, give him a subscribe. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, but I'm sure most of you already know who he is anyway. But yes, awesome channel. So thank you so much for jumping on, dude.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
No, it's really cool to have you here, and obviously we've had a chat on the phone and stuff like that. So it was good to get to know you and stuff like that. And we've got hopefully have some things planned maybe in the future. But today we're going to finally talk about NFTs. This is something that when Ubisoft announced NFTs and the fact that they were being brought into the game that we all love, or some people love to hate, it was a strange decision. I think that most people would agree that it was brought into breakpoint, especially after Motherland had just come out and people who had a lot of complaints regarding the game had suddenly really kind of U-turned and went, do you know what, they've done a really good job with this. And then they hit us with some really crappy news regards to NFTs. But we're going to try and go through it. And it is something that people have been asking us to cover and asked us why we haven't covered it. And we always kind of wanted it to develop a little bit more. And it has developed a little bit more over the past few months. And there's been a few news stories. We're going to go into a few of those stories. And I might even read verbatim some of the things that have been said by Ubisoft employees so we get a better understanding of what it is. And I'm sure there's going to be some people listening to this that might not even know what we're talking about. I'm still sure some people are not massively aware of NFTs, but I think some people are. And some people are like, well, I know what they are, but I don't really get what it's about. So hopefully we can cover some of that and kind of look at the good and the bad, even though, to be honest, in my own personal opinion, it's all bad. But we'll just start off and just kind of open it up to everyone here is having an initial discussion. And then I think I'll go through some of those things that I mentioned. As you're the special guest, Ghost, what did you think when you heard straight after Motherland that they had decided that NFTs were going to be coming into breakpoint?
Yeah, man. So I think when I first heard about it, I immediately went to Google and just started trying to figuring it out, like trying to see what is this about, because I have no idea, right? And then I figured, well, you know what? It's tying into Ghost Recon, so I'm going to make a video on it, and I had to kind of touch base with all the details and figure it out, because at first I wasn't really too sure what it even all meant. And then once I learned, I was like, yo, Ubisoft is so dumb, man. They just don't understand their audience or their core values or their vision as a company anymore at all. They're completely they've sold their soul to try and test out different ways of making money, and they're a company, and I get that they need to make their investors happy and shit, but I don't know, man. I don't know why they keep doing the wrong things. So I'm not really a fan of it, and I don't really see the positive side of it in gaming as a whole either. There's just not a single shred of doubt in my mind that Ubisoft, they do not know how to handle both themselves, their own staff, as well as the franchises that they have built up over the years.
No, I think that's well said, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well said. What about anybody else? What was your initial reactions when you heard about it. What about you, Sandy?
Well, I've got a mixed opinion on this already, but I always did think that bringing in a breakpoint was a bad idea, and it quickly probably go back to something Ghost Thunder said about why they keep on making these mistakes. Is it's made to do with they've stopped listening to the fans, and there's somebody for a PR marketing team who is just in Eve's ear going, "Yep, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the thing." That's why we always get 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We had Motherland, it was great, and then they slap us in the face with this again.
So what you think is that Ubisoft are trying to look ahead and say, right, what is going to be the next big thing in gaming in a monetization way? And they saw NFTs and went, let's jump on this.
Because if you look at loot boxes, obviously loot boxes have been dragged through the coals, especially recently. And, so what's the next thing on for that? And, if they can capitalise on that early, it's got to be good for them in the longer term. Is it going to take on? Possibly. Is it going to take on a breakpoint? Definitely not.
I think the issue with the loot boxes, obviously, is that some countries saw it as gambling, so they realised that they had to get away from that and find something new. Tonka or Wanderer, what did you have an initial reaction? What did you think?
I'll let Tonka go first if he's all right with that.
Yeah. No, I wasn't too sure all about it, but then after I watched like that the video like from Born the Game, I just think it's a bad idea. It's going to ruin the game and games to come.
In terms of ruining the game, is it the thing you're worried about? So, for example, instead of giving us updates which have got new weapon skins, new camos, things like that, instead of just putting them in the shop or earning them through doing certain objectives, instead they'll go, well, look, we've created 10 new skins. Rather than give them out like we normally do, they'll all be saved for NFTs. Is that what you're worried about?
Yeah, and stuff like that. And then also, like, if, say, for argument's sake, they're going to do like a DLC, like a new DLC, that would be like an NFT. But that won't be, say, small money. So that could end up being quite a lot. So you could say end up paying like at the worst, say like £100 for like the DLC.
So you think they would
just keep going up, and it'll just keep going up and up and up. So eventually, if you're wanting to get anything like in the shop and it's all done at NFTs, they'll be just so expensive that you just won't be able to do it.
Yeah, I can see your point in terms of I think they'll stick to the things that are more monetizable. So, skins and camos and gear and stuff like that. But I do agree. I worry myself that they're going to stop giving us as much so they can hold it all back for NFTs. So before we get into it a bit deeper, Wanderer, did you have any initial thoughts?
First, I wasn't worried about that at first, but thanks, guys. Now that's on my radar. But in all seriousness, this is what I humbly think, if you want my honest opinion. I'm not so annoyed that they did it. I'm frankly surprised it took Ubisoft this long to try to pull this. I will say, in defense of the idea, if the game was doing well, like in my opinion, the game everyone immediately thought of when this was announced, the difference between Counter-Strike, I believe 1 and 3 is where this is the biggest, or sorry, 2 and 3. The difference between those games and Breakpoint is Counter-Strike is doing exceptionally well. It just is. Even nowadays, it's a very successful franchise with whatever the last title was. Breakpoint in its current state is not in a great condition or in, frankly, anywhere near a good place to try to pull something like this. And also, now am I hoping that this is not the new norm? Yes. Am I worried it will be? Not really, because Much like the gift code idea, Ubisoft sees this doesn't work, it's probably going to die on the floor, which I will personally welcome because, to be fully clear, to the Ubisoft people who logically will watch this video, do not do this. This is a bad idea. If you want us happy, listen to the two gentlemen here that have YouTube channels. Please. They are giving you ideas that will help. I implore you, start listening to them. That's my thoughts.
Well, I got one question, and it hasn't been brought up, and most likely I'm not going to be the only person thinking this. What's an NFT?
Well, that is a
non-fungible token.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, effectively, what it means is for anyone who doesn't understand, this is, you can go into huge depth with this, or we can just give you a very, very basic thing. So basically, this is as far as I understand of it. And if anyone thinks that I'm off here, just jump in and correct me. But so, for example, they will make something available, and to make this thing available, you have to qualify. So it might be whatever. They can make you qualify for whatever it might be. Okay, this is available, and you have to have played, I think one of the recent ones was 600 hours of gameplay. For example, if you haven't, then you can't even qualify for it. And you can then attempt to get one of these items, and then once you have this item, nobody else can have this item, which then means you can sell this item on. So let's say you paid, this is just a random number here, I'm not saying these are the prices, but let's say you paid $10 for an item, and obviously it's not going to be released in the shop or the store or whatever, or in the missions. You effectively can sell that item on. So if somebody was to approach you and say, oh my God, I want that weapon skin, and they effectively could buy it from you through Ubisoft, has to be done through Quartz, which is the system that they're using. Effectively, you could then sell that on if you wanted to. But as far as I know, and please don't quote me on this, because I'm pretty sure Ubisoft have definitely not announced this, but obviously Ubisoft takes a massive portion of that sale. Now, I think it was Yong Ye's channel, and I'm sure he said that from the information that he'd been told, it was something to about 80 to 90% that Ubisoft would take of the sale. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. But then I thought, no, actually I can. So obviously, for each one of these that's being sold continuously, they are bringing in a lot of money. If that's true, and I have no basis of fact on that. Like I said, I don't believe that Ubisoft have given out percentages of what they're making at all.
They have actually, Andy.
Have they?
So,
okay.
Well, there was an initial stud. There was I think it was an interview type thing, not an interview, but there was something that IGN covered, I believe it was, and they specifically covered the NFTs and were saying that Ubisoft's NFTs, I think they'd maybe got rid of 3% of them. Or it was less than 10 anyway. They were doing spectacularly bad.
That was in December, wasn't it? 15. Yeah. They'd sold 15.
That's what it was.
Yeah, 15 by, I think this was mid-December. They'd only sold 15 in total.
Yeah. So they definitely lost money with this little venture of going into the NFT space, basically.
But what Andy said there as well, though, so we were talking about just before we came on, there was a post on Reddit, maybe, let's say 6 weeks ago now, and there was a gentleman looking for the Wolves NFT helmet, and he was, at that point, he was willing to offer somebody $100 US just to buy it off anybody that already had it, which I think is setting the wrong type of precedent for me, because that's the type of thing, in my eyes, fine if the guy wants it and somebody wants rid of it. I'd rather see him give it for free than exchange it for $100.
Well, that genuinely really worries me that
Yeah.
someone has offered that. And it worries me for all of the reasons of why we'll probably go into in a little while about why I really, really, really do not want this in the game. And it's because obviously if people are starting to say, I'll pay $100 for a specific item, then eventually the more and more people that go, well, I want that too. And I think they know, because of games like Call of Duty or any game really, that cosmetics seem to be hugely important to people, about to look different to other people. There was actually Sandy sent me the link to it because I hadn't seen it. There was a very small survey recently from Ubisoft, which I did go and fill out. And one of the questions that they were asking about on there was, it was just asking you simplistic questions like, do you want this? Would you want this? It wasn't necessarily about gameplay. It was about mainly cosmetics. And there was a lot of questions in there about, is it important for you to feel individual when you're playing this game, to look different to everyone else? And I thought, I know exactly where they're going with this question, because they're hoping everyone will say yes. And if people say yes, that's when they're going to be like, see, people do want this stuff. We do want this ultra rare stuff. And then they'll pay to look different to everybody else. And they probably started with some more basic things, and will probably start. That's what genuinely worries me, is that the creativity that could be put into creating some really interesting skins and designs will end up all being pushed aside for NFTs, and nothing will get put in the store, or the stuff that's put in the store is just stuff they've already had. I mean, Sandy, you had some leaks in your game. You seem to get loads of random things happening in your game. And you showed me some pictures ages ago of stuff, and they're still not in the game.
Which worries me that I think they'll become NFTs. So one of the most recent NFTs was a custom Wolves plate carrier. That Wolves plate carrier was actually part of the concept art, which can be found online. So it's not even like they're creating anything new here. That was already well created before the game, at the start of the game.
So the concern here is that eventually we'll reach a point where the store just becomes full on NFTs, right? That's what we're kind of worried about here. So like all the cool stuff, all the cool unlocks are going to be locked to NFTs eventually. That's the kind of end game. That's where we're headed here. That's where we don't want to go.
The worst thing about it is it's pretty much already the store. The only difference is that they're going, right, we're going to limit how many people can buy one. So at the minute, if you go in the store and you want to buy the Cry AVS, everybody can buy it. But now what they're saying is, if they put another one in, they go, right, we're only going to give 100 people a chance to buy this new, like, kitted out plate carrier. The thing that everybody will want, because this type of thing should be in game.
Right.
And now they're saying, we're going to make it artificially scarce, because we think that then that way we can make more money out of it.
Yeah, they're going to make this they're going to create this fake demand by limiting sales, and then it makes that the people who do get one, they end up trying to sell it as an NFT for drastically overpriced. Like you said, $100 for a wolf helmet.
Yeah.
Dude, if you buy a wolf helmet for $100, I don't know, man. Just stop gaming, dude.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And what genuinely concerns me here is, let's forget about the game for a second and just look at real life and how this works. So you can have any item. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a toy. It could be, I don't know, it could be a football, gift. Something, a gift, something. Something comes out and it's scarce. Sometimes it's how you hear about this in news articles and things, especially like in the toy market before Christmas. You hear about this. So there's some toy that's selling, and they can't get it in. And you get these people that go in and go, they've just had 10 in. So they buy all 10, and they'll buy all 10, and then they eBay the whole lot and sell them for 3 times the price, because they know that there is going to be loads of disappointed children who aren't going to get it because the mainline shops have sold out. And there's nothing stopping people doing this if they were to do that with this as well. You know, let's say they put something that people genuinely wanted. Let's say they start moving away from skins and go, we're putting brand new weapons as NFTs. I mean, I think that would really piss some people off.
Yeah. It would.
But let's say
I just
they
stopped
did.
playing.
Yeah,
but
if they did that, if they put that in, and let's say that, as Sandy said, they did 100. What's stopping someone from buying? We don't know if how many limits they've got on this. You could buy 10, and then sell those 10, but have no real interest in the game. You might not even really like Breakpoint or Ghost Recon, but you just see it as a business opportunity of buying each. Let's say they all cost $10 or to start with, and you manage to get 10. You could sell them all on, and then Ubisoft, all they're doing is creating an opportunity for fans of the franchise to be fleeced by people. Yeah, by people who have no interest in the franchise whatsoever.
Here's a good example of it already. The PlayStation 5.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I mean, you could go back years for that. I mean, pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger made a movie out of it. If anybody
Turbo Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that the one where he like becomes the character and he's like the action figure or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but look at the PlayStation 5 now. I mean, it's limited because of the microchip shortage. But when you do get lucky, what happens? You might get one person to buy one, and then you all of a sudden see that one PlayStation 5 on eBay for $1,000 when you probably only paid $200 for it.
Yep.
You could also look at tickets to like
the Super Bowl
events.
The Super Bowl was the cheapest ticket that I heard on my local news was almost $10,000. That was the cheapest ticket.
Yeah.
It's insane. Real fans don't seem to get to go to these events anymore.
It seems like Ubisoft is trying to combat that, and to a degree, like especially with that Wolves helmet where you had to do 600 hours of in-game just to unlock it. So I guess like in a sense they tried with that one specific piece of armor. For some reason, they decided to try and make it harder for the people who don't give a shit about the game to hop in, unlock things. You know what I mean? So they did it with that one piece. So, I mean, they could do that again for other pieces, make it where it's like, nah, man, if you're going to be getting an NFT here, you got to put in the game time. But then that also just ends up becoming gold farming, man. That's just like spending a shit ton of your own time just to unlock something virtual that literally doesn't even fucking matter, because this game's an always online service game. So what happens in 2 years when they decide to shut down the servers? What happens to all the NFTs that people have for Breakpoint specifically? Do they get transferred over to other games? I don't know, man.
Well, that's the thing, can it though? Because like, if you look at it, can't really translate to Frontline because that's first person. So the stuff they're doing for Breakpoint's third person. So in first person, it's not going to matter because you're not going to see it.
That's true, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. Call of Duty obviously still sells a fuck ton of, weapon skins and costumes and stuff like that, and I don't think you'd think that your character's costume wouldn't matter quite so much in a first-person shooter, but as you can see with the amount of sales of skins, character skins for things like Call of Duty, people obviously just don't care anyway. It's how they see others seeing them. It's not necessarily how they see them, if you know what I mean.
I had an initial kind of thought on how I thought they wanted NFTs to run. And I think I've said this to you as well, Andy, is that in their mind, NFTs, had Breakpoint been massively successful and, there was loads of guys Twitch streaming it, I think that's what they were going for, So if you had somebody who had, 2 million viewers every week on Twitch, every time he played, and then he had that one unique skin that people would then go, well, I want to be like this guy. I want to look like him in game. That's where I think the mentality was. So that, because I've seen one or two who have modelled the certain NFTs, and I think that's what they were going for. That they would then get some of like the YouTubers and the Twitch streamers who would get them first and go, look what I've got, this is what I'm going to be running a game, and then everybody would follow that trend.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, I look at it. I mean, it's not quite the same, but for example, when you had the Delta loot drops, especially that first one that they did.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I was offered them, and there was a lot of backlash over the Delta loot drops. People did not like them. It wasn't necessarily they didn't like what was in them. They didn't like the fact of that they thought they were never coming to the store, because to start with, no one said that they weren't coming to the store. I think that was only changed after the backlash. I don't believe they were ever coming to the store. So this was almost like, were they testing? There's going to be some seriously rare stuff here that we are giving away for free. Let's see what people's reactions were like. And the reactions were dreadful. So then they put them in the store. So you would think, after seeing that reaction of creating scarcity with things that people want, that NFTs would certainly not be the way to go. But I mean, I remember, I had a few discussions with people, and they said, well, what did you think about it? Obviously, after being offered them.
Yeah.
And I said, look, it was a really difficult situation. I said, because when it comes down to it, if I'd have said to them, no, out of principle, I'm not going to take them, what would have happened to them? I think I was offered 10 of each. And what would have happened to them? They would have just been given to someone else to give away. So I thought, do you know what? I'd rather make sure that I had them and they could be given to people who go out of their way and put time into supporting my channel. I wish I could given out everyone one, obviously, if I could have. But, every single one of those codes went to someone who supports this channel, so in one way or another. So I just tried to give a little bit back. But it's not the same, but I feel like it was kind of testing the water. But it's just the backlash from that made me think that why would you look at that and the backlash and then think NFTs was still a great idea? It just perplexes me.
The problem is that I think once Jeeves has got that thing in his head, that he can't be persuaded otherwise. Because if you want to look at stuff like that, look at Elite Squad. Elite Squad was another one of the ideas that they had, and somebody might correct me if I'm wrong this, because I read up on it, but that was suggested to him be his son, and because it was for his son, he went full into it, and it was yet another failure.
Yep. And guess where Frontline's headed, as well as X Defiant, in the same pit in the ground. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry, because I'm still confused why those two games. If you're going to do a game like that, I was still confused why they did two, or why why do?
Because you've got Heartland as well.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. It's still confusing to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Frontline, I think if Frontline had effectively been a giant, normal Ghost Recon style PvP game, free to play, a lot of people would have been happy about that, But I think as soon as you start making it battle royale and first person shooter, people are like, well, that's not Ghost Recon though.
I don't know. If they'd released Frontline as a DLC pack, as a kind of a separate DLC pack to say sorry to all the guys for PvP that they've abandoned over the last 2 years, I think people would have been all right with it. But when they announced a new game, and everybody was thinking, right, good, they're going to be working on a new PvE. Hopefully, they're going to take on all the stuff that all the criticism. They'll get to fix the things that we've been talking about, and then they slap you with 100-player PvE battle royale. That, as far as we can tell, you only have a maximum of 3-man teams. It's very unusual who they're actually listening to at the minute.
3-man teams and a military contractor, because that works so fucking.
We're playing Contractor Recon.
And I know I'm going to rehash a lot of stuff that our boy Ghost Island Thunder has said here before.
Do it, buddy.
But to clarify, I'm gonna try to be as respectful as I can to the people at Ubisoft that I guarantee I won't guarantee, I hope will listen to this video. I'm gonna hop on my soapbox real quick. This will be within the NFT realm. This will be within why it's a problem. I give you my word. The reason why we reacted so negatively first to the codes and then the NFTs is to take back to something I said a long while ago in one of Andy's videos. Gamers don't like change. We don't. Why do you think most, not all, most of Call of Duty's campaign levels and Modern Warfare levels over the years have remained relatively the same style? Because we enjoy familiarity. We enjoy feeling returning to things we've done before. We enjoy things the way they are. So if you want to make money off of a game with microtransactions,
Can I jump in with one quick thing? Because
yes.
otherwise I'll forget. I actually totally disagree with you there. And I don't think gamers' minds change depending on the change.
As long as it's not too drastic.
That is where I was going to take it next.
The reason being, when you just said about Call of Duty, do you honestly believe that they make the campaign in Call of Duty exactly, very similar each year?
I don't believe they make it very similarly on purpose.
Because of that, or do you think it's because it's an easier option to do than suddenly make
I think it's because it's an easier option and also because people enjoy it. But what I was going to say next, even with what I just said about not liking change, we don't like drastic changes that are too drastic. And this would be an example of that. To take it back to my Call of Duty example, in the latest Modern Warfare, I think there's not a single person on the internet that doesn't know about this mission. Clean house. Now, to use this as an example, that was a good example of a pretty decent change from previous entries compared to now. However, an example of a change that is not great is taking it to the NFT. The microtransactions that the fan base, while they don't enjoy them, are used to is the store, where we are guaranteed to get what we pay for. Ubisoft gets the funds we give them, and we move on. When you bring in gambling and chance, and no guarantee that we'll be able to get the thing that we really want, that raises an issue. And that is why the negative reactions to the NFT and the codes was so heavy, because players, in my opinion, enjoy some level of guaranteedness, and some changes are very good and welcomed. To take it back to a good change, to go into the Ghost Recon series from Wildlands between Breakpoint, this is at least my personal opinion. The character leveling up system in terms of upgrading your skill tree, this is one of the things I will give Ubisoft props for. I appreciate it's just the skill points compared to the crazy high prices for the resources back in Wildlands. One that I will say that is not a great change is getting rid of the store, pretty much, which guarantees us get what we pay for, and instead leaving it in the hands of someone else, giving us an item that we might really want, and not giving us the personal okayness, safeness, whatever you want to call it, that we're paying for this and we're guaranteed to get it. That's why I think the NFT reaction was so negative, because people like the store.
I think the NFT reaction, if my own personal opinion, the reason why it was so negative is because I think gamers are just absolutely fucking sick and tired of developers finding new ways to fuck them over and take money from them for every single thing after they've paid for a game. And I think if you stick to a more simplistic plan, if you release a game and you release it for $60, people will pay that $60. If you support it every year with new content and you charge $25 for that new content, and it's there and they give you updates all year long, people will go, I don't mind supporting this game. I'll happily support this game. If you put new weapons and things like that in it, new stuff, people will pay for it. But outside of that, loot boxes and all this other stuff, and now NFTs and all these other ways that they try and You only have
Yeah,
to look
quick
at the way
buck.
that EA monopolize how to effectively screw people. This is what gamers are sick of. Why should you, like, when it comes down to it, if you want to purchase something in a game, why it should be this straightforward, like you would purchase anything else in life. It should be, here's a gun. It costs $4. If you want to buy it, it's up to you. It's your choice to buy that $4 instead of these horrible manipulative systems that they put in place where they go, go and buy this amount of this and you might get the gun. And it's like, well, I don't want to might get the gun. I either want to buy it or I don't. I don't want to I'm not paying for a chance to get it. I want the gun. And this is, to me, this is what we've put up with it for years and years and years. And then when we hear about NFTs, people are like, oh, a whole new way that's been thought of to screw us over. I don't think it had anything to do with change. I think people don't mind change because change can be good. But, when it comes down to it, I get it. Sometimes you can't win because if you change your game too much or a franchise too much, people say it's not like it used to be. But if you don't change, people go, oh, it's stale. So I get in the creative design, this is difficult. But when it comes to monetizing things, I think as gamers, as far as I'm aware, most people are happy to pay for things that they choose to buy, whether they be customizable things. If it's like DLC, where a lot of games have now changed and they're giving you DLC levels and things like that for free, especially multiplayer maps tend to now be free instead. So you get, because then you're not splitting your audience as well. But overall, I just think that's why people were like no to NFTs. It did not go down very well at all, to be honest. And I don't know if anyone heard the news. This hasn't been as big a news as I thought it would be. But I read last week, or actually, I think it was Yong Ye again that said that Steam had actually banned all games which sold NFTs. Good. They were banned from Steam completely. Now, I don't know if anyone, I haven't checked, because surely that means that Breakpoint must be banned on Steam. It must be, because if that's true, or unless the ban hasn't come in yet, but I'm sure it was already live.
I thought the NFTs for Breakpoint were only through PC only at the minute. So would that have even worked on Steam? Because it was only a beta phase.
Yeah, it is still a beta effectively. Even Quartz, I think, is still a kind of beta as such at the moment.
Which I think actually makes it even worse in my eyes, because not only have they limited the amount of actual NFTs you can get, they've also limited on which systems you can get. So it's rare enough in the fact that, there's maybe only 100 helmets. But now you're saying to people, well, you can only get this helmet if you're actually on PC. So we didn't actually care about the PlayStation guys or the Xbox guys.
Oh, you're missing something here as well. Quartz is still region locked as well.
Oh, yeah, it's only America as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is still region locked. So only certain places in the world have access to it. I don't believe it's available in Europe at all yet. So it's even rarer at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means that there's literally no way anyone in Europe could buy one. If, let's say, someone in the US was to buy, let's say, the helmet that you were talking about, I presume that would be no. I don't know. I don't know enough about the actual purchasing of the items through Quartz because I don't ever want to do it. So it just doesn't interest me enough.
What an absolute clusterfuck of an announcement, of a release. Nothing seems to be working here for the NFT thing on Ubisoft's side, all right? It just seems like such a misfire on all cylinders. It's no mystery, all right? Let's be real. Ubisoft only cares about money, all right? Much like the DC Universe films of the 2010s, all right? Warner Brothers, they see trends in other films and what other successful companies are doing and what successes they're bringing with their films, and then they pivot their own actual identity to try and jump on that train. They're always either too late or they're first, but the initial vision is just completely fucking off. And it's why you see these big companies struggling. And I think it's because they grew too large and they lost sight, all right? If you want to have a successful project, whether it be a new game or trying to find a way to enter in new things like NFTs, it needs to be players first and consumers first, all right? If your goal doesn't satisfy your core audience, you are absolutely fucked. And it seems like they're fucked right now. And that's why NFTs aren't doing too well, all right? And like, how many times has Ubisoft absolutely fucked themselves? Too many to count. They've had too many consecutive misfires, and they keep backpedaling, which ends up causing them to have more delays, which makes them go back to the drawing board more times. And each and every time, it's for what? How much money do they waste on games trying to make more money?
Was there also a statement recently for somebody in Ubisoft who turned around and basically said that the fan base was too dumb to understand what NFTs actually are?
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to read something in a minute. I'll get to that in a sec. I was intrigued. What do people think over the fact that lots of games companies have come out since in and around Christmas time onwards and said openly, we're not doing NFTs. We are not interested. We do not like NFTs. They will never be a part of our games. And it's quite a few now. Do you think they just saw the backlash, or did you think they honestly had looked into it and gone, I'm not sure the money's there? Why do you think that is?
I think the backlash first. I mean, even Ubisoft Paris developers came out and said, this is a terrible idea. But then what did Ubisoft Paris do? They rewarded them recently with an NFT hat for Breakpoint. And you're like, not only did they don't get their own core audience, they obviously didn't even understand the guys that work for them.
Dude, they don't understand anything, all right? For the 20th anniversary of Ghost Recon, we got Ghost Recon 1, right, for PC for free. You guys remember, we got Deep State, we got fucking, Fallen Ghost DLC for free on Wildlands, all right? And then not too long later, of course, like you said, Ubisoft gets gifted NFTs for free from their bosses as to celebrate the 20th anniversary internally. So both to a consumer level and as well to their own staff within, they've celebrated the 20th anniversary for Ghost Recon in the worst fucking way possible. They do not understand themselves.
They just slap everybody in the face.
Well, there was I think it was an article on PC Gamer about what you were just talking about there, and they did an interview with a Ubisoft employee. Obviously, they did not take this person's name because they would have probably lost their job. But I think it was through Bloomberg, had something to do with it. And this employee said it was a deeply embarrassing day to work at Ubisoft. While asked if management was competing with EA for the most hated studio by the public title.
I read that article.
I would say yes, they are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, look, to me, it's a difficult. The thing is that Ubisoft have put out so many games over the years that I adore. I love some of their games and some of their franchises, and EA maybe not so much. Yes, I mean, like, I've always been a Madden player, and anyone who plays Madden will know that EA put the absolute minimum effort to push that franchise forward. It is literally a copy and paste job.
It's a joke.
Yeah, the same as FIFA, basically most of the sports titles. And where we were talking about, where you were saying, I think, Sandy, a second ago, about, like, we're talking about public perception in how these things are looked at. Or was it Wanderer? I can't remember, but
it was me, and I'd like to rectify that. You're done.
But FIFA, for example, if you look at one particular game, where people worry about, say, backlash, do EA worry about the amount of backlash that they get on FIFA every year over its monetization practices for Ultimate Team and things like that. And they get loads. Every year, it just gets constantly bombarded with people going, this is ridiculous. Do they change it? No. And that is because people are paying for it. They are pushing millions, if not billions of dollars into that. Yes, it gets criticized, but the fans of that game are keeping it alive to the point where EA go, we don't care if people criticize it because we are raking in so much money. It makes no difference. We don't care one bit how much you complain. We are keeping it in there.
To be fair, FIFA's its own little wee separate world anyway. I've never really, as a kind of a football fan, even in that aspect, I've never really got it because it is almost a limit copy and paste game. It's just the same game every year, just with a new number. Yeah, I mean that's how I see it. Every year, it's just
It's funny. You'd think the sport games. Sorry.
Yeah, continue.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, if the sport games would adapt the always online service style game, then they could just keep updating that same title each year and just charging like a fee, like a monthly fee or a yearly fee for the game. But they won't do that, obviously, because they're making those sales each year. But
it's because they want the $60 as well. They want that
$90, $100 now.
To be fair, it makes perfect sense. If you buy a game like Madden, you should really be able to go and buy Madden today and not have to worry about buying Madden again until a new engine is built.
Right.
You know, when they want to upgrade it to that next level. And then you go, no, hell yeah, I'll definitely pay again, you know, because you've upgraded the engine. But you shouldn't need to. It should be continuous. If a team changes its jersey, it's an update. If a team changes its logo, an update. The roster, update.
I get it, because they can't monetize it.
When you say that about the team jerseys, that's your perfect DLC right there. You know, that's a small DLC.
You're kind of limited.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if you put DLCs out for every specific club that's in the game, yeah. If you only play as one team, you only have to buy one. But if you like playing as multiple different teams, or you're a guy who has loads of mates around and they like playing with different teams,
you know, they're going to start selling players individually and shit now. Everyone, shut up! Stop talking about this.
I mean, I could see
on the other side of the scale. On the other side of the scale, sorry, quickly, I'll finish this 1 minute.
Okay.
On the other side of that scale, you look at Grand Theft Auto. Now, how long's GTA 5 been out? And it's just it's just constant updates.
Yeah.
You know, and people still rave about that game. People still play that game.
But that's the thing. They can add game modes. They can add cosmetics. They can add vehicles and all that cool shit, right? But a game like a sports game, they can't necessarily do that, right? You can't like add skins because it's like, it's the team, right? Unless there's like alt uniforms or we're doing the 80s throwback, you can pay and unlock the old school jerseys from the 80s or some shit. I don't know. They'd be very limited, I think, with the sport game, and that's probably why they keep going on each year with just selling copies as opposed to making a live service. So I guess I kind of answered my own question there, but.
Anyway, you just said some good stuff, but because you could not just jerseys, but you could look at, for example, I'll take a Scottish tint on this. So you could say as a limited DLC or as a limited thing, well, what if we brought back the Celtic team for 1967, who won the European Cup? Celtic fans would buy that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they do. I mean, what Ghost Island was just saying then about, what if they started actually selling players and things like that? Well, they kind of do in Ultimate Team, but it kind of has happened a little bit because I forget the name of what's the other big kind of football soccer game?
Pro Evolution Soccer? PES.
Yeah, didn't they start about 3 or 4 years ago? Didn't they buy the rights for Juventus to only appear in their game? So in FIFA, which you would think this is a FIFA-backed game, which is the body Juventus were not called Juventus; they had to be called something else. And I believe they've now bought some more teams as well. So like the official game that goes. Is missing the names of some official teams. I mean, it'd be like having Madden and the Dallas Cowboys go, we've we're selling our rights to a different NFL or a different game, and the Dallas Cowboys are not allowed to be called the Dallas Cowboys. You have to call them something else. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but I'm going to read something. Sorry, actually, Marcus, you wanted to jump in with something.
Well, I was kind of answered at the same time, so I can go with it. But referencing how the sporting games are, with throwback jerseys, so you could easily buy those. But it was kind of answered in the process. But it does make sense. If you are that deep into a team, then yes, you can buy, the jerseys.
Yeah, or even maybe not just the old jerseys. It could be even just players that have been either, players who have passed on or have retired, You
Right.
just kind of relive that old school thing. So I guess there's also that thing, but I know this is kind of off topic now.
Yeah.
Mind if I jump in quick?
Go for it.
So first of all, I'd like to apologize about my former statement. I misspoke, but I'm not going to worry about that now. Basically, this is my opinion about every misstep that the Ubisoft has made and companies have made in general, whether it be an NFT or, as you said earlier, Andy, a way to screw over the audience. If you want to add or change something in a game, like for a really good example that was just brought up, for the Madden series, a really fun DLC, maybe add some of the legacy jerseys for the team, or maybe add a map that's a stadium and it's like a titular location. I'm not trying to stereotype, but Andy, I believe in you and Sandy probably have a favorite soccer team, or is that incorrect?
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm an NFL guy, bud.
Oh, then I sadly don't know a lot of European football teams. I apologize.
Well, we can go to NFL because we've got the Scottish Claymores, so that kind of works in its same way.
All right. Yeah. So, for example, let's say there's a stadium, right? That, like, if you're a Claymores fan, you know this stadium because this is where one of their greatest games went down. It was like it was nail biting, inch by inch. They won by 3 points. Every other touchdown was like 20, 30 minutes apart. A game to remember for your favorite team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you buy this DLC pack for, say, an extremely reasonable $5, or if you unlock it through a set of missions for free, but don't make it easy to get, you get the team, the enemy team, and the map, and the outfits, i.e. the uniforms, and everything from that day, either for whatever price or for doing those missions. And in my opinion, that would be a good way to handle something like this. To use Madden as an example.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. I mean, going back to Breakpoint, I still think that where Ubisoft missed a trick is that they saw this outpouring of support after Motherland. And if I'd have been in charge of it, of Ubisoft, what I would have done is I'd have seen that output. I would have seen this, a lot of people talking a lot of good things about the game for what might be not the first time, because obviously, we cover this game because we love the game. But there's a lot of other people out there that are,
There was a lot of you came back there.
Yeah, a lot of people came back who'd bought it and not played it. I played it for a few weeks, didn't play it again. They came back after that. What they should have done, I think, is that after that, they should have come out and said, thanks for the support. Glad you're all enjoying it. There's new content on the way. Get ready for something. We'll have an update for you early next year, something like that. Then people would have got even more excited. Wow, there's new stuff coming. This is great. Whereas it's been like radio silence since Motherland, like nothing, no communication.
Yeah, but we all know that's Ubisoft, though.
But that for me. But when the only piece of information that you come out with is NFTs in that whole time period, that is what pisses people off. That is what annoys people. Yeah. Because it's like you had something great and you could have kept that momentum moving forward. You didn't have to say what the content was. You didn't have to say anything, but you could have said, "Glad you enjoyed it. There's more to come." And
They're too
instead,
busy, man.
Andy, to be fair, they kind of did, but just not in the way you think. So if you think back to that, let's call it timeline, when they initially announced Motherland, yeah, underneath that, so if you look at that roadmap, if you go back to that roadmap, so there was, the Lara Croft event, and then we'll get to this, we'll get to that. Motherland was going to release, and they said, and more. So they technically did, just knowing the way you think.
Yeah, but that was for year 2, and year 2 would have been ended by that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they never specified year 2, so they just said, and more to come.
So, I just don't think that, but I don't think people thought that by that statement.
I
don't even. I don't think that by that statement at all. I think they meant within. And what else did we get in that year? It was just some competitions and photo competitions and things like that.
They never promoted either, to be fair.
No, it was literally via. There would be a tweet on Twitter, and that was it. But
I will quickly though, just going back to something else you said though, when you were talking about all this, so that survey I got sent, that survey would have been ideal before they announced NFTs. So if they had done that survey before announcing NFTs, they would have got a much better idea on whether or not NFTs would have been accepted to start with.
Well, this leads me on to, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go through bits of it because I think this bit's important about where we are with NFTs. So there was a Ubisoft interview, and I believe it took place in December, and it was with Nicolas Pouard. Pouard, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and also Didier Genevois. And so basically, it was the fears of the community were put to them, asking them about NFTs and the backlash that they'd got. And I think Nicolas Pouard is the vice president at Ubisoft's Strategic Innovations Lab, and he's basically the man leading the charge on the Quartz and the digits effectively. And Didier Genevois is Ubisoft's blockchain technical director. Now, the NFTs are all coming out of this Strategic Innovations Lab over at Ubisoft. I presume Strategic Innovations, just my guess, would be they're looking into all different new ways of probably making money and different game ideas and all sorts of things. But obviously, they were asked about what their goals were. And they're saying that it was, they understood the reaction that came out. They said it shows that their players are engaged and how passionate they are about the hobby and gaming in general. Okay, I'm not sure that's how I would have answered it, but I think they were saying yes, that they were frustrated overall, but they said what they believe they're doing with Quartz and Digits is going in the right direction. And they're going to keep integrating it, and they will listen to what fans are telling us and how they go about telling us, things like that. But they basically turn around and say that fans at the moment don't get it. And he literally did say that. They don't get it.
It's not that we didn't get it, it's we didn't want it. And he can't accept that.
But they've definitely...
They had some pretty big balls entering NFT space to begin with, and they had even bigger balls saying something like that, man.
I didn't. I must admit, I wasn't keen on the way they said that, because it's like, no, we do get it, actually.
Out of touch, man. Just like everything else, out of touch, not understanding their core audience. They're not understanding themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying they're trying to be transparent on what they want to do, and I believe they should be transparent. I think that it's always, if you're looking at new ways to monetize, I think it's really important to be transparent so people understand what it is that they may be paying for. But I don't.
Ubisoft know what transparent actually means.
Well,
Because I think they just think it means complete radio silence. Like when
Well-
things go wrong, if we just didn't talk about it, people just forget.
I mean, he does say, he says, look, first of all, he says our players are always right because they're the players and we love them. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think every single gamer out there that could turn around and say that's probably not true, because we all feel as gamers, doesn't matter what game you play, that you don't get listened to. Over and over again, there's things that people have always wanted and we don't get. But he does say at no point will we force our players to use quartz or digits. We're just informing them that there's a new system and it could provide them with a higher value than the existing ones.
Now let's hold them to that when the future doesn't have like the MTX stores is just full on NFT stores. Let's hold them to that quote there, all right? Because that's where it's going to head.
I agree. I totally agree with you, and also kind of going to what Sandy was saying earlier. You could almost see them put in things just into, it could even go down the line. Might not even be in this game. It could be in the next game, but whatever the equivalent of, say, Maria's shop is in the next game, there might be on the 1st of April, whatever it is, let's say it's next year in a new game, on the 1st of April, 2023, we're adding this weapon into the game and there will be 500 of them.
Can I just say how stupid it is to have a Maria shop in a Ghost Recon game? Just want to say that because it's always bothered me. Just the idea of, oh yeah, go to Maria's shop and go get your fucking new M4A1, you fucking idiot. Dude.
My thing about that is technically, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is the case. Of course, I know this is the case because they're in around Australia. I know Maria's helping U.S. Special Operations. She's unless she has a lot of permits to do what she's doing, she's breaking a lot of firearm laws by making full auto capable weapons and SBRs.
But is she though? Because she's on an independent island and nobody gives a fuck about it.
Tell you what, that woman, you got to give her a bit of dedication. She never sleeps. Every time I go on the game, she's always there. She's never just not there.
To be fair, we're not giving her the credit she deserves. She's clearly one of the world's biggest arms dealers.
Oh, 100%.
They should name Ubisoft Quartz.
You can buy everything off attack helicopters off that woman. You know what I mean? She's doing well for herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They should name Ubisoft Quartz to Maria's shop NFTs.
And especially with the ASR costing $45,000, she's getting paid.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
She's making mad money, man.
Big time. But what was interesting about that interview, and it goes back to what you were saying, Ghost, earlier about the fact that this new one that they had put up to, you had to have played the game for 600 hours. Now, I'm intrigued.
Grind fest.
But I'm intrigued to why they did that, because in this interview, now we're recording this on the 6th of, well, for me it's the 6th of March. A lot of you guys it will still be the 5th, but so we're at the beginning of March, and this was in December. And in December, after he'd said at no point we force our players to use Quartz, he did then say, and this is something that I think is kind of odd. If you just listen to what he says here, he says, then there's the way we've built the platform regarding eligibility criteria. We've made it somewhat hard for people to get into that. It's complicated, but it's there so people can't go in and invest and inflate the market, which is what I was talking about earlier. You must purchase the game, and you must play at least 2 hours.
Dude, this is just for them to make their investors happy, because they probably still don't have the player count that they hope for with this game. So they're just looking for any little thing to find players to play this fucking game, man.
Here's my question about that.
Do you think, just to everyone really quickly, do you think that 2 hours is long enough to be eligible? Even let's say that NFTs are here. And 2 hours is not long enough, is it? 2 hours is not long enough. I don't think so.
No.
For an item this rare, no.
No, not if you're if you're openly saying we do not want to inflate the market, then 2 hours is just not long enough.
So dumb, man.
But I mean, if you're like the diehards, like most of us who have been playing it since the release, we've got well over the amount of time. Why do we still have to fight and bid for this then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he does say he's asked a question later on. So clarification. So things like skins that we're going to see in the through Quartz, will these come to the store at some point? And he's put no, they will be exclusive to Quartz. You will not be able to get them in the game if you do not go through Quartz. So they absolutely intend to lock out content for people. And once they've got they could have a whole team of people building new content to lock out just so it can be sold through Quartz. And if they started putting weapons that people have been asking for 2 years in
The
Quartz,
M16. They'll put the
I mean,
M16
can
in
you
there.
imagine? Can you imagine? Obviously, we all know someone who would go absolutely crazy if they did that.
Rest in peace, brother.
I mean,
But they'll probably do it. They'll probably do it if they realise it's. They say, look, we've seen this weapon mentioned over and over and over again. This is the way to get people, even if they don't want to use Quartz. This is the way to get them to use it. We can force them because there's no other way they'll get this gun, and that's what scares me a bit. That's what worries me.
I just want to know what the appeal is for like any of these cosmetics. Like, what's actually driving people to want to go and seed out these cosmetics and actually acquire them?
I mean,
What's so
People
special
like to
about
have a
them?
Barbie
Dude.
doll.
well, here's one thing on it already. Why are they just limiting it to the PC players? There's more console players probably out there who want to get in on it.
I don't know if maybe it has something to do with the fact that this is new and they're still kind of, I guess, guinea pigging it with breakpoint. They're kind of still figuring out, like, can this system work? What's
Why couldn't they
what's the
just
capacity of this system?
why couldn't
So
they
they're
use
kinda limiting it.
why couldn't they use the division? They probably got just as many people playing that as many as breakpoint.
I think it's some weird, twisted,
think you
like,
should pay
way.
I think if you're going to put that into anything, I think you put it into Rainbow Six. I think you put it
Right,
into
with
Siege.
Siege, right?
Yeah, with Siege. That's where I would have put that into test this. Because it's got the biggest fan base, by miles as far as I can tell. Given that, this game itself, Siege is 6-7-year-old now?
But that's the
and still
thing,
going
you know
really
what?
strong.
I think you got to look at the metrics of the age of players as well, because Siege is attracting a lot of young kids, right? So you can't necessarily get kids onto NFTs, but I think due to the large audience of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I think that's probably why they went with this game. And they figured, would it be too much of a headache to kind of maintain and look at and see like how successful this is? So start kind of small and then work your way big. Maybe that's what they got in mind. And I swear to God, if that Splinter Cell remake they're working on is somehow in any way includes NFTs as a replacement to like other microtransactions or whatever they do have in store, then like shit's gonna hit the fan, man.
I can't see how they can. I think that's going to be Splinter Cell's going to be left alone. For the things I've read about it, they wanted to go back. They wanted to be a remake of the original.
Yeah, you got to keep a real close eye on any game that's to come from Ubisoft based on the NFTs and the fact that they're not backing out like other companies are. The fact that they're sticking strong with this, you got to really keep a close eye on Ubisoft, man, because you have no idea what's next, man. The next games to come, we got to keep a close eye on them. If they don't step back on this, which I hope they do, but I don't know, man. I feel like at this point they would have by now already been like, all right, you know what? We've heard you guys. No more NFTs. We're not doing this shit no more. But the fact that they stayed strong with it kind of scares me. But also it's the
CEO who wants it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like I was saying earlier. There was a bit there where developers had been threatened. You either go with it, or you don't work for us. So a lot of the developers who work for Ubisoft they've either left or they've been pressured into doing it because they were told directly, you either go with it or you find work elsewhere.
No wonder all these lifeless games are coming out, man. There's no passion.
There is a condescending tone, I think, that's being used when NFTs are discussed. Now, I don't know this person, and he might be a really nice person. I don't know, but the issue that I have is that he's asked a question in this interview, and they talk about another game, Stalker 2. Now, I don't really know much about that game, but it says that the team that are creating Stalker 2 or said that they were announcing NFT integration. It suddenly got loads of backlash, and then the team came out and said, "Sorry, we got that wrong. We're ditching it."
Because they're smart.
His response to that was, "It's saddening to see there's still some resistance to this based on misunderstanding." Now, I find that quite condescending because it's still saying that we're not clever enough to understand what NFTs are. We know exactly what NFTs are.
We know why it's bad for gaming, man. We know why it's bad for the environment too. They think that we're using Tezos blockchain. It's green. It'll cost less energy for the environment. Yeah, sure it will, bud. And then you go and get fucking players to plant trees in your game to try and show that you actually care about the not the economy. Sorry, you care about the environment, but you don't. Like they're so stupid, man.
As we were kind of said right at the very beginning, like we're all gamers, and we as gamers understand that gaming is also a business. Now, obviously, if they don't make money, they don't make games. So I don't have an issue with things being monetized and things that I enjoy playing, supporting it either. And I think most gamers overall don't mind that. I mean, but it's how it's done, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, to your point earlier, man.
Interestingly, I think Ubisoft have managed to do one good thing, and they might not have realised it. Before NFTs were announced, how many times did you hear people complain about, I bought a $60 game, I shouldn't have to buy anything else at the MXT store for a game that I've already paid $60 on. And now most people have turned around and went, actually, I didn't mind the MXT store. I'd rather have the MXT store than NFTs. So Ubisoft have actually made, as far as I can understand anyway, Ubisoft have made the MXT store better.
Yeah, and it should be about the monetization should also be down to choice because, and that's how you get. I think that's how you get people happy to spend more money anyway. It shouldn't be about taking chances with loot boxes and NFTs and things. I mean, I look at like Rainbow Six Siege, as was brought up earlier. I used to play that game I've got thousands of hours in Rainbow Six Siege, and I used to primarily always have UK Jedi on my team when we were playing. Now, every single one of my characters that I had was wearing a different costume than what they came with because I put money into the game because I played it so often. UK Jedi put the same amount of hours into that game because he played when I did. And all of his characters were wearing the exact same costumes as when he purchased the game because to him, cosmetics were not important. I think that is how gaming should be. It was my choice to buy those skins.
Just give us some nice microtransactions in the store, some nice priced items, and let us just decide for ourselves.
Absolutely, and that's
why Wildlands system sucked, man. Those crates were fucking stupid and terrible, man. I still have items to this day I don't have in Wildlands thanks to those fucking crates.
Me too.
When they screwed up and they duplicated, how many times? I think there was a whole phase for a good couple of months where you would just get constant duplicates as well.
Yeah,
which was even more frustrating. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to stop that."
And or like emotes that I'm never going to use.
Oh god, don't I?
Oh, I mean emotes, seriously.
I mean,
or like
actually, I've got a story from the crates and microtransactions from Wildlands.
Go for it.
So I finally got enough cash set aside where I can definitely throw down for the stupid high price of probably the most well-known pack in the Ghost Coin store in Wildlands. I can finally buy the Predator pack and get, I believe it's the M110 and the M16 and all the cosmetics from the Predator DLC, right? So I go to buy it. This is 1 week after the update where they removed the Predator mission is still there. I decide to go on Google, right? They removed the pack from the store because this was after Disney had talked to Ubisoft like, hey, we own Fox, get that crate out of there. So I then spent probably close to a few $100s going through every single crate of a certain series. I get the last crate out of all, I believe, 112, and I finally get the M16.
Yeah, that's fucking brutal, man.
Now,
That's terrible.
coming from someone who used it in the game, am I glad I have it? Yes, because I'm much like a member of this Discord who shall remain nameless. I think it's one of the greatest AR-15 variants ever made. Do I think it was worth the money I spent? Oh, hell no. Now, in Ubisoft's defense, do I get why they removed that pack from the store? Yes, because fighting Disney's lawyers is a suicide mission. But it does not mean I'm happy about how I had to get it.
Scout Johansson won.
Well, don't you think that it was very weird? This is very off subject, but the Predator was removed from Wildlands, and then I believe it was 4 days later the Predator arrived in Fortnite.
Yeah, well,
Fairly convenient.
well, we're assuming that I'd put $5. I'd put money down that Disney had that planned that way.
Yeah, he left Bolivia and made his way to fucking Fortniteville or whatever town that game's placed in.
My headcanon for Fortnite, it's just some random island in America.
Let's not forget that they did come out with a standalone Predator game.
Yeah,
they
there
did.
was that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And that could have worked, but it didn't.
Yeah, Hunting Grounds. I'm not
another,
going to go into that because that's not what this day is about.
So let me ask everyone a question on NFTs. So we know how they're doing them. We know that they don't believe that we understand how they work. Well, at least according to that fellow in the interview. Is there any way that they could have incorporated NFTs or a similar system where we, the community and the fans, would have gone, okay, I can get on board with that? Do you think there's any other way they could have done it where people would have liked it?
If Ubisoft wanted to dip their toes in NFTs, they should have just fucking sold some NFTs on some marketplace outside of the game. Like, sure, you want to sell some fucking artwork from the game, maybe some concept art that's never seen the light of day before. Maybe you want to turn those into NFTs and kind of just sell them just to make a little bit of money for yourselves, and then put that money funneled towards another project. And by all means, do that, but don't fucking like incorporate it into the game. You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised how much though the concept art is actually an art station already. I have loads of photos for art station of the concept art for Walker, for the Wolves, for some of the lieutenants and stuff like that.
Some of the Wolf concept art's fantastic.
Much better than the final.
And then we got these stupid looking.
Buddy, I recorded a video and I see like the wolf kind of running away down the hallway, and you see his little cape. Like I'm like, dude, like what is going on here, man? There's enemies wearing capes. I got to buy my guns from Maria's shop. Like, what's going on with Ghost Recon, man?
Do you want to know the best part?
I'll let you go first, one drum it.
To polish off the wolf subject, do you want to know the best part? This is actually according to in-game dialogue, and this is at least what I've come to realize. So, number one, I didn't realize this at first, but thanks to some of the people currently here, by the way, thank you, gentlemen. I did figure out that not all the wolves, like, all of the units in the game are all former ghosts. It was only Walker's crew. I did not know that. Sandy, you told me that, corrected me on that, so for that, I thank you.
Well, I just learned something new today now, too.
Yeah, so that's actually talked about quite early on in the game, because what you actually hear them say is that most of the wolves were recruited through Sentinel. So there was a program within Sentinel to identify people who could do special forces training. And then the lieutenants were brought in to do that training.
Do you want to know do you want to know even a better part about that while we're on this subject? I decided to do some digging, and around in breakpoint and just putting together information from enemy dialogue. And I came to a realization that makes me even more sad and angry. If they're going that route, which they clearly are, where the wolves are capable of performing special operations training, why not choose Sentinel members that already have? And several times throughout the games, multiple different NPCs, you hear talking about themselves being former Army Rangers and SEALs. And when I put two and two together, and I'm just like, well, logically, a large majority of the wolves that are from Sentinel would be selected from that group. Because, no offense to other U.S. Special Operations training, Buds is about as difficult as it gets, and Rangers don't have it any easy either. So, Ubisoft had the bright idea they're going to represent the most in multiple different factions, both our AI teammates and the wolves. They're going to represent probably the most skilled military in the world as fucking children. I'm just not happy with that. But that's not why we're here. We're not here to discuss the misrepresentation of special operations from one of the most skilled militaries in the world. That's not why we're here. I'll get off the subject now. I apologize.
What about the actual NFTs that we've had so far? I mean,
only
obviously
good one I've seen is the wolf vest.
Well, we haven't
That's the helmet.
had a lot so far, and most of it, like you said, the wolf stuff. I mean, I don't want to dress my character up in any of that stuff anyway. But what worries me is that obviously there's a lot of people who like to make sure that their character does represent maybe a tier 1 special forces operator from whatever part of the world they may be from.
US, UK, Russia.
They start putting them. I'm not sure currently there'd be too many people that would want to dress up as a Russian, but I could be wrong.
Sorry, I was just shooting off the list. That was not intentional. I apologize.
I'd say slightly different there, Andy, because one of the things I've noticed through other communities as well, so if you look at the reenactor community, and this is the same there, people like to be the bad guy. When you look at when you look at communities like that, people prefer to be the bad guy, because in your own little way, you can just rewrite that little bit of history, and in everyday life, you've got to be the good guy. That's the one time you get to be the bad guy, and you kind of get judged for it.
No, I mean, I don't want to get too much into political discussions because this will be going onto YouTube and they don't like it. But do you not think right now, do you think Ubisoft, if they suddenly started adding more Russian gear into the game, it wouldn't look particularly good? Do you not think?
It'd be nice if they added some, let's just say, the opposition's equipment, kit and equipment.
Correct me if I'm wrong, actually. There's something I wanted to bring up, I guess, since we're already on the subject. Am I a crazy person, or was there a Ukrainian flag in Breakpoint before the Motherland update? Because I could have sworn there was.
No.
Nope.
No? All right.
No, there's never been one. Tom, were you about to say something a second ago?
Yeah, well, you were going, it's like dressing up as like the bad guy and all that sort of thing. If... like they put the NFT on like the wolf kit, and nothing else. Right. Most of us, like in our settings, we have turned off the what is it? The setting that
your score.
No, the setting like when you go to error 1, where you can see where everyone is.
Yeah.
Right.
The social hub.
Yeah. Now, when you have that on, and you go and see everyone, you got all the people who have done the raid and think they're mega cool, and everyone dresses up as a bloody wolf. They go, look at me, I've got this, I've got that. Because all the gear that you get for the raid is wolf gear, nothing else. It's all wolf clothing.
The majority of it, yeah.
Yeah, so they like to dress up their Barbies and they go, and go, look at me, I've got this, I've got that. And Ubisoft, I'm sure they monitor every single thing that is going on. And because everyone loves to dress up like a wolf, that is why they put the NFT on the wolf kit.
That's you're actually onto something there. They probably looked at the stats there and they're like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
people seem
yeah.
to be liking the wolf stuff." It's like, no,
Yeah.
they're just wearing the wolf stuff because they unlocked it playing the raids and they want to show it
Yeah.
off. But it doesn't mean they
Yeah.
actually like it. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
little kids do, but
So, well, yeah. So that is why they put the NFT on like the wolf kit.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it goes.
because everyone's doing it. But then in saying that, in like the last update, when they had all the clothing, that was nearly all in store. So that must have been like a little indication of like the way they want to go. You've got new clothing, but you're going to have to buy it. There wasn't in Maria's. There wasn't in Maria's store.
Can you imagine if some of those things that had been asked for, like the gas mask, for example, if they had decided to go straight to NFTs for the gas mask? I mean, I honestly believe they would have got so much hate for that.
yeah, that's why they're playing it safe. They're dipping their toes in NFTs using just the fictional gear, like the wolf stuff, because they know that it won't piss people off as much. If they start putting in like fry gear and like some more realistic type gear in there, then they're really going to be fucked, man. People will really push back on that. Whereas now people are kind of like, oh, it's just wolf shit. Like fuck this, anyways.
Yeah. Going back to what Andy said, just quickly, is there anything they could do that would make the NFTs popular? I don't think there is, because we've got the store. And ultimately, all they've got to do, if it's popular, people buy it in the store. Then they make it artificially scarce. So you're pretty much preying on FOMO, and it's saying right to get people to buy stuff that they didn't want because they fear that they're missing it if they didn't have it.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But also the other thing is like NFT, you're saying that someone offered like £100 for like a bit of kit, but the thing is, like, you could own the right, like for that piece of kit, but then you can sell the right on at a profit to somebody else, and it goes on and on and on. Then eventually, say I don't know, you're wanting a particular camo, or whatever, that wouldn't take long for it to end up to be thousands of pounds. Yeah. That is the problem with NFTs.
And with each sale, of course, every single sale, they're making money off of every single sale. So it's just constant money flow.
Yeah, it's just false, and it's just inflating these things. It's putting this kind of false value to things because there's no actual value to them. So people just make up fucking value. So it's like, yo, I'm gonna sell this dumbass fucking wolf helmet for $500 because guess what? I'm creating the price because that's what NFTs are, and it's a rich man's game. Is people to launder money and have a little fun. But average Joe people, we can't afford this shit, man.
No,
I really don't understand why it's in a Ghost Recon game, man.
And of course, importantly, off of that point, if you are selling, let's say in 12 months' time, there are some items that have sold for, let's say, $500, which could have happened by that point. Are they going to start offering them at, let's say they start at 10? Well, if they're now reaching sales of 500, they're not going to be available. Do you know what I mean? The initial price could be a lot more. It could then go up. Like, why would they? Or they might insist. They might start saying, well, actually, every time you sell, it has to go up by $100. They could start setting those conditions in there. Right. It now sells for 110. And then when you sell it again, the minimum you can sell it for is 210.
So every time it sells, it appreciates.
Yeah, effectively, but they could quite easily get involved with how much it's being sold for. So you can't just turn around. Let's say you've paid 50 for something, you can't sell it for 55. You can only sell it for 100.
Or you can't sell it for 35, or you can't just give it to your mate.
You can't give it away, or you can't suddenly go, oh look, I feel sorry for this guy. I don't even really want it. I just want some money back for it. I'll sell it to this guy for $20.
Yeah.
And they'll go, no, you have to make 100 on it. I mean, that could easily happen. This is the problem with this system being set up in the first place, is that you can change it, you can manipulate it, you can add to it, you can You can do whatever you want to it if you're running it. And that worries me that things like that could easily come into play if they see more and more people spending more and more to get these exclusive items.
They'll eventually be too expensive to buy.
Yeah, I mean, I just want people. I mean, my honest opinion, and people should be able to do whatever they want with their money, and I'll always stick with that. It's not for me to say what people spend their money on. But on the flip side of that, I would prefer if the community did not go down this route. I do want this to fall flat on its face, and clearly a lot of Ubisoft employees agree with that as well.
So does like the entire gaming industry, pretty much. Like if you average it all out, no one actually wants this shit, man.
I agree.
Like just generally speaking, like for the most part, like no one wants this. There's definitely going to be obviously a sizable portion of gamers as well as just people who are like down, but for the most part, like you ask the average gamer, what do you think NFTs are good? Like they're going to say no. It's a general consensus is no, and that's why you see all these big companies pulling out because they're smart and they can read the they can read the hints, like they can actually get it. So but then all the dumb companies don't get it.
Overall
because they
consensus
pretend
is
to
then
listen.
that you think, let's say they're going to keep NFTs then. So how we would prefer, if they're keeping them and they're not getting rid of them, we would prefer that they put in these smaller value items like, the things that they've been doing currently. Because I think if they start putting out things that are not, new weapons, brand new camos, things like that, I think people will go absolutely crazy, and the goodwill that was brought on from Motherland will literally be entirely lost. I just do not think it will look good at all. And you would think with, there's been a lot of things about Ubisoft in the press the last year or two, not all of them good. And some of the receptions for some of the games have not been that good either. You would think that they would have really enjoyed that goodwill and wanted to kind of just build on that, and instead to come out with NFTs and then push NFTs and then insult people by saying you don't even understand, like you're not clever enough to understand this, I think is not a good look at all. I'm sure there must be some PR person out there that could go, that what a terrible thing to say effectively about your community. They're not clever enough to understand what it is you're trying to sell them. That's not good. It really isn't. I mean, you don't go in to buy a new car and the salesman says, well, like, obviously, I want you to buy this car off me. And the way that I'm going to do this is insult your intelligence about you don't understand how good this car is. You don't understand what this is. And it's like, well, you wouldn't have turned up at the showroom to look at the car if you didn't understand something about it. Or do you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be enthusiastic to that person who wants to buy that car, not insult them.
Yeah, but
exactly, man.
But you look at Paris, though. You look at Ubisoft Paris, right? And even after Breakpoint failed spectacularly in release, they were still just in so much denial. Even now, when they got to 20th anniversary announcement, when they were doing all that stuff, every release has always been, we've done really amazing with Breakpoint, and we're really happy, and we're doing this for fans, and you're like, surely something your PR team must be seeing this and gone, this isn't what people are saying. Like, they seem they still think, and they still push this idea that the raid was a brilliant idea, and that it was the best thing since ever.
Well, you can see what their mentality is with the anniversary with the Lara Croft thing. That is their mentality, and they think, that's a brilliant idea.
They don't have people who understand anymore, man.
I think it's. Yeah, I think you've got people who are afraid to say something to the higher boss.
Yeah.
That it's shit because they're afraid they're going to get the sack. So they
Right?
go,
And the economy's
yeah.
so bad, everyone needs their
So
job, you know?
yeah. So they're going to go with with what the boss says. But
and monetization is clearly looked at, and you play if you play different types of games, you can clearly sometimes see when certain games have had monetization looked at as the overall most important thing before story, before gameplay, before anything. Every piece of gameplay is pushed towards making you pay for something. You know, we see this happen so many times. There's lots. To be fair, there's loads of games now that are pushed like that. And it's actually really refreshing when a games company brings something out. I mean, I'm not pushing for any one platform. I'm not into console wars or platform wars or anything like that. But it is like, for example, I think it was when God of War came out, the more recent one, and it came out, and people were like, "Oh, there's nothing to buy in there's no shop."
Doom
And then they were
Eternal is
like,
another good one.
yes, very true. But I remember people saying there's nothing to buy in the shop, and then going and then asking the developers, "So, are you making a DLC? Is there going to be?" And they went, "No, that's the game." And it's like,
people forget what that's like.
That never happens anymore. And I think if I remember rightly, someone talked about someone had openly from another company criticizing that decision. And yet then the game sold loads of copies, and then they had to kind of fall back on it. I'm sure it was EA who turned around and said that single player campaign games would never sell ever again because no one's interested in them. And then you got games like God of War, and there's lots of others that came out and were like, they had to kind of go, oh, okay. All right.
EA did do that because pretty much directly after that, then they announced that they were not long after that. They announced they were doing a pretty much single player only game, if I remember correctly.
It was the Star Wars. It was the Star Wars game.
Absolutely, like again, criticised for it because all they're saying is quick pound signs and ways to try and influence the gaming community. Where the majority of gamers, there's a lot of gamers are still 30, 40, 50, 60. And all we want is a PvE. Not everybody wants PvP.
They really don't. I think in certain games they want it more than others, but I think in Ghost Recon, the main experience needs to be the PvE experience. It always needs to be the number one thing in the game. I'm not saying you don't add a PvP element to the game. That should be there too. Because there are players that want to play that, but overall people want a really fantastic PvE experience. But look, before we kind of start closing off now, because we've been going on for quite a while, does anyone have anything final they would like to add about, whether it be monetization, NFTs, anything that we haven't covered or discussed regards to it, or anything they want to say about what's been going on about this, how they feel about it? I mean, if the floor is yours if you want to add anything you like.
Well, me personally, I think that they've already got what they need in the store. They just need to take a bit more time, listen to what the fans want on a regular basis, and then find a way to implement that in the MXT store that we've already got. I think that there would be much better and much more beneficial and a better moneymaker for them than NFTs would. And I'll give you an example. If in 6 weeks or 8 weeks' time, Ubisoft turned around and said, we're adding a new gun into the MXT store, and it's going to be the Glock, and it's going to be customizable, it's going to be a Glock, but you're going to have to pay for it in the MXT store. Is there anybody that plays the game that would buy that?
No.
I think everyone would buy it because everybody wants it.
Exactly.
If I had to choose one in particular, I'd hope it would be the 17, to be honest.
I thought you meant put it through NFT. My bad. That's why I said no. You mean if they just added it to the store?
No, just put it in the store as normal.
Yeah, if they added it to the NXT store and said, right,
Gotcha.
because of licensing, we can only add it if it's in the NXT store, because everybody knows how difficult Glock can be with certain things. We need to add it to the NXT store. It'll be customizable. It'll have different slides. You'll be able to put red dots, all the stuff that we want. And then they turn around and say, yeah, but you have to buy this in the NXT store. And it's maybe, say, $10. Right? I will 100% put in there that if they release that, everybody would, just about everybody would buy it.
Yeah,
if you've still got 30,000 people playing the game, even if it's in
money,
PvE,
man.
Exactly.
But I probably wouldn't price it at $10 though. But it'd be like $6.99 or something. I think it would be through the credits though, right? So whatever the pricing for the credits is.
Yeah, but you get my point on that. They come in and said, because of the licensing agreement with Glock, the Glock had to make some money off it, and they make some money. People would still go, yep, that's fine. I'll totally buy that. And that'll sell so much better and so much more than it will try to do that as an NFT.
Yeah, because people won't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my closing thoughts would be it's not too late, Ubisoft, to go back on the NFT thing. You guys do not need to go with this.
It's the CEO who wants it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's not going to listen to anyone. But honestly, guys, from what I'm hearing in terms of the Splinter Cell 1 remake, the passion, the drive, the direction of what they're willing to do and where they're going with it, and just all I've heard from them on that, it sounds to me like they're trying. And if they can kind of ride that same wave and apply that to other series that they have, then I think they could be moving into the right direction and kind of start to win people back. But right now, they need to take a step back from NFTs and they need to do full focus on making true experiences that go along with their core audience and go along with their actual series that they have and what they've established. They keep forgetting the stuff that matters, all right? And they keep focusing on the quick money-making opportunities, and NFT being one of them. Who knows what the next thing will be? They need to really just kind of hone in, focus in on what made them who they are, and deliver proper gaming experiences first, then think about monetization later.
And they also more money that way.
Teams. Yeah, and they need to get teams with actual people who give a shit about the series. Guys who care, all right? Guys, girls and boys who give a shit and actually understand the series that they're working towards.
One thing that surprised me, and I actually going back to what when Andy mentioned about that survey that came out. What threw me straight away specifically was one of the questions was, have you actually played Ghost Recon Breakpoint? And I thought that was it seemed like a very targeted question on something, because the first couple of questions were generic about what type of genres you like, what type of games you play, and then it just went, have you played Breakpoint? Yes or no? And then from there it went into a whole subject basically about, and it was trying to coax out how you feel about NFTs and Breakpoint. And it's just a shame that wasn't sent to everybody.
Yeah, it is a shame that they couldn't have put that survey on your actual game. When they link you on the front page of the game to the website, why can't they? They could have put that survey on there, and they could have got a lot more people. Because when you sent it to me, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, and when I sent it to you, I thought, well, if I'm getting it, surely somebody in Delta must have this, because that's.
I didn't even know about it. No, I didn't know nothing about it. I honestly didn't have a clue. I obviously have filled it out. And what was interesting in that survey is it said, if you'd like to, we might reach out to you. Would that be okay with you? And get your opinion on maybe in the game and stuff like that. And to me, that's where a game like Ghost Recon, more than others, you need to listen to your community. Because the game will only survive if you go and make another dud. We've all turned around and said it's pretty obvious. I mean, from the survey and stuff like that, what people want in the game, it's very obvious. If the next game came out and it's ignored those things, the franchise will be dead.
Yeah, it'll be dead.
It will be dead. It's as simple as that.
The Canada is on life support at the minute.
I'm gonna hop back on my. Sorry.
the way I see it at the minute, the franchise as a whole is on life support. It is critical condition. It was pretty much almost dead on arrival. They've managed to get the heartbeat back, but it's still nowhere near out of the woods. So if they're not listening to the fans now and they bring another game and it feels like Breakpoint, that is it. That is the series done.
But
They
if it
do it to
fails,
themselves, man.
if it fails because of the disconnect that is clearly what the things that the community wants, then what do you do about that? I mean, it's literally like we can't do any more to keep bringing up these things that need to be in the game.
I mean,
Things
again,
that have to be in there. Things that they want to see. Things that have been in other games. Things that have been in previous Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're asking for things that are impossible or they have no idea how to do. These have existed in games from 10 years ago. You know,
You just need to research their own fucking series, man. Just have a look at your own shit in the past.
Do you know
It's
what I
not
think
hard.
part of it is, though? Do you know what I think part of it genuinely is? That for a long, long time, Ubisoft had that market on the tactical shooter. So we all knew that Call of Duty was a totally different thing. And if you wanted a tactical shooter, you went to Ghost Recon. And they've had that market for such a long time with it being challenged that they genuinely believed they could do whatever they wanted with it. And we would just go along with it. You know, they'd done the same with Rainbow Six. And people just went along with it. But now that you've got games like 06 coming out, you've got Ready or Not, you've got other games that are now going on. And I mean, look at Ready or Not. It's pretty much
They're
made by
taking over, man.
developers. It was made by all the developers who worked on Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six. So it's the same
Basically what
guys.
Rainbow Six should be.
Yeah.
And what they've got to be careful of as well is that I think there's not many tactical shooters that exist on console. And, you know, a lot of these other games may or may not be coming to console. Whereas we do know that there are going to be, I mean, there's been a few videos recently about, we pretty much know that Guerrilla Games, even though it's not official yet, are definitely working on SOCOM. And I've been working on it for quite a few years now, at least 4 years by the sounds of it. That could get announced any day soon. And if it is a third person, which is, this leaker has said it is a third person kind of photorealistic military shooter.
That's what I want to hear.
If that comes in and it's great, you know, could kill this franchise very quickly.
Ubisoft's upper hand right now is the fact that they have all the resources to tackle a game as large as Breakpoint or Wildlands, for example, right? So can another company step up and accomplish something that grand scale? Because that's also the appeal to Ghost Recon, is the scale of it now, what it's become. But if they can make a solid fucking tactical shooter, whether it be third person or not, I think it would definitely kill Ghost Recon, especially if it comes out on console.
And SOCOM would be
look at Sandstorm.
Sandstorm is another one, man. It's kicking it, dude. I'm loving that game.
Yeah.
Then is it Ground Punch? That's a console game.
Ground Branch. You did it. Ground Branch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I believe just PC. That one.
No.
Or
it's
is
on
it
console.
It's
on console as well. But
you've given me something I need to look into now.
That is challenging.
Yeah.
That's going to challenge Ghost Recon, isn't it?
Oh, hands down.
That's, as I said, that's where my point was gone, is that for the last 5-10 years, Ubisoft have had that market, they've had it cornered, it's been their niche. And because there's been no challenging and there's been no innovation that way, there's been no to push them, they felt that they can get away with just, changing everything.
Yeah.
Whereas now, look at the games we've just mentioned. You're talking about 4 or 5, maybe 6 good games looking at coming out. That could easily, each one of them could absolutely bury Ghost Recon if done right.
6 Days in Fallujah as well is still coming out this year.
Everybody's got to want to play that game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Half of them will get to play it just because people said it should be banned.
Yeah, I
Oh
thought
yeah,
that
but
wasn't
that's
going to
just
come out.
helped. They've just helped it sell.
Oh, yeah,
effectively.
gotcha. If you tell the market that this game should be banned because it's too brutal or too graphic or whatever, all you've done is just created sales.
But when it
Um,
comes
yeah,
down to it,
well-
that game can sell itself in a way, because just from the initial paragraph of basically what they said about the game is about the fact that it's based on, even if you don't know what it is, which most of us do, but the fact that it's the second invasion of Fallujah, which was a US UK assault on Fallujah, and it's using they're using soldiers who were there. They've motion captured soldiers who were there. I just think automatically that's got people going, oh, hell
Do
yeah.
you know what do you know what I think one of the biggest sellers for that'll be though? Is that they've done that thing with a map where even if you play the same bit, you'll never play the same map twice.
Yeah, they've
I think
openly said
that's a massive seller.
every time you play it, it will play differently. They said they're spending a lot of time on the AI as well, to make sure that you don't feel like you're playing the same thing again and again.
Yeah. So you can play the same map 100 times and never encounter the same exact area twice.
Yeah.
My question is about when 6 Days in Fallujah comes out. Is obviously there's a central, I guess, squad, for lack of a better term. The main four, who we saw in the trailer, for example, those 2 Marines. My question is, on those different playthroughs, will there be certain amount of squads you can unlock after completing the campaign a certain amount of times? Is my question.
I don't know.
You
should get a lot more information about it. Obviously, it's not coming out until December this year, and the fact that they're bringing it out maybe a month or two after Modern Warfare 2, they'll probably feel like they can't get so much slack for the whole shooting kind of terrorists, or whatever you want to call them, or specific
I'm going to call them what
enemy
they are, terrorists. Sorry.
enemy combatants, whatever it is you want to call them.
See, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, though.
Because they will be, you'll be doing the same thing in Call of Duty, so it makes sense in a way for them to have moved
You
it.
kill women and children, you're a terrorist. In terms of if you intentionally kill women and children, you're not a good person. You're not fighting for the right reasons.
I'm not saying they're not. All I'm saying is that, sometimes we were done, it's playing the devil's advocate here. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yes. And there are examples of non-military factions with firearms that are good people. I'm not denying that.
This is an interesting discussion for another day.
Yes. Sorry. Back to the NFTs. I'm gonna go on my soapbox again. Ubisoft, right. You've gotten a lot from me. This stream about this. You're welcome.
Going back to that survey, I hope somebody for the survey actually contacts me to ask my opinion, because I would happily sit down for ages and just go, have you seen the surveys?
Have they reached out to any of you guys just to say, hey, we want to chat about some of the stuff that you've maybe found out from your community and how we can better enhance this game? They don't, right? They don't give a fuck, guys. Come on.
I send all that stuff, all the videos that me and Andy have done on the surveys, I also send them directly to the community developers on Reddit. And it's the same ones that run the forum. And out of the 3 that I've sent to, I've only ever heard back for 1. And unfortunately, I believe now she doesn't work with Breakpoint anymore. She only works on Frontline. So I can't even get an answer at her anymore.
They don't have any of the people who give a shit about the series working for them anymore, I don't think.
No, it's the one that did.
As soon as I got into Delta Company, I did. As soon as I got into Delta Company, I did go on and on and on and on about adding the ACR into the game. I didn't stop going on about it. And they did finally add it, but I would never take credit for that because it could be that they were doing it anyway. But I did just go on and on and on about it.
I remember the day that trailer came out, Andy. I opened my DMs, I went straight to you, and I said, Andy, thank you so much for all your hard work. The ACR and the M110, you've done me proud. Good job.
Just remember Andy teasing me through that phase beforehand, because we'd no longer just done the weapons you want a game survey. And all Andy would say is, I think there's one of them coming. I'm not going to tell you which one I think it is. And it just, every time I was like, damn you, Andy, damn you.
I mean, I've been very vocal about this. Well, to get to that subject, I want more goddamn American machine guns. All right, I like my belt feds. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, you know, as I said, M16.
Yeah, give us an M60.
M16's going to be the next step.
M16, M240 Bravo, M249 Saw, and the Saw K and 300 Blackout. That'd be sexy as shit.
Just
I'm
for
just
the
shocked that like the M2, the Saw is not in the game. Like,
it was in Wildlands, but they put the
Yeah.
damn wrong stock on it. They didn't put the factory stock for some fucking reason.
just tell all your slave tyrant, the M16's coming, but it's going to be an NFT.
Oh, he would not be
probably.
happy.
I fucking hope not. God damn it.
He would not be happy. Anyway, we've gone over a couple of hours now. I think we've made some interesting points and obviously gone through what's been said from them about NFTs, and I think we've made our opinions pretty clear. So, yeah, no, there you go. So that is all of our opinion and the community's opinion. No, don't do it.
Not just
it.
no. NFT, Nathan, thank you.
Exactly. I did see someone say that before, actually.
NFT, no fucking thank you. Yes, pretty much.
That was the funniest
Yeah.
thing ever, man.
That was awesome.
This has been a Bullet Catcher Gaming Podcast. Join us next time for another exciting episode. Join us on the Discord. The Discord info is also in the description. Comment, like, and subscribe. We're signing off.